been seriously avoiding talking about this. Oh, good. Fresh water. The last time that I was on camera, I was going in for a biopsy. Okay, just do it. So I already tried to go over this and fill you guys in a previous video that I shot, and I don't know if I've even watched it, but basically shortly after I had my biopsy done, my results came back, and there were no abnormalities in my biopsy results. Shortly after I had that test taken, about actually like a week after, I had a follow-up appointment with my new rheumatologist, and my new rheumatologist informed me that I am suffering from mass bone erosion throughout my body. We did a sonogram of my wrists that showed bone erosion and also fluid wrapped around a tendon. And that's the first time I'd ever heard of my body being in that physical state. My wrist is not the only place that it's in, but I saw it with my own eyes when she did the scan of my wrist. I have a CD of the results. Can you see what that says? Okay. This says Madeline Davidson 9/121 hands, feet, and C-spine, which I tried to show you guys in the last video that I shot, but I don't even know, like my mind has just been so scattered, I couldn't even like pull it together. But honestly, like here we are, it's a new day, like thank God, praise Jesus, and and yeah, I'm ready to tell you guys what my issues are. Basically what I found out like 3 months ago was that I'm suffering from bone erosion, and that is something that can happen with severe rheumatoid arthritis if it is not treated correctly or if it is left untreated. In my situation, I have been basically mistreated for the past 10 years and also not given the correct information as to how to properly care for my body when dealing with this disease. Some doctors will tell you how to properly take care of yourself. Others will completely ignore how to properly take care of yourself, and they'll just give you your pills, and then you take your medicine and you think that you're going to get better. When I found out that my bones have now begun the process of eroding, which, you know, just it basically, like my bones are basically eating themselves. So that's what it is. It's basically when your body starts to attack itself, and autoimmune disease, that's what autoimmune disease is when your body starts to attack its own tissue. But my disease, it personally has been extremely severe and extremely active for years now, and the medications that I have been put on have not been helping me. They've actually made me worse. 3 months ago when I found out, actually I don't even know if it's been 3 months, it's probably been like 4 or 5 months. Whenever the last time I shot the video was, which was biopsy day, is when I found out that my bones have been eroding, which means that my degenerative disease has started the degenerative process, which basically means that my body is like 100 years old. Like, literally 100 years old. So when I found out this news, And granted, like, I basically already knew that, like, this was happening because the pain that I was in was so severe. Like, I can't even explain the pain. What it feels like when your body is literally attacking its own tissue, bone, muscle, synovial fluid. The pain is completely excruciating and it's debilitating, and it has caused me to be crippled at different points and times in my life. I've had this for 10 years, so there's been different times where I've been a lot worse off than others, and basically I have suffered from minor joint deformities, like in my middle finger. It's extremely swollen right now, and it turns to the left, or your right and my left. I don't know. But if you look past my tattoo and you see this middle finger and this middle, like, knuckle, it's extremely swollen, extremely damaged. That's all inflammation right there. And I don't know if that's permanent damage right now because it's still tender inflammation. There's two different types of inflammation. It starts as a tender inflammation, and if it progresses and does not heal itself or go down, then it turns into hard, basically, tissue that is permanently there. And that's what happened in my thumb here. I have, it's called like a nodule, basically, and when this damage is actively occurring, it basically feels like your bone is trying to grow and push your skin outward. It's it's not pretty. I'm having a little bit of pain right now in my wrists. I usually am basically, like, how I describe it is like, okay, so I've been really not doing well because I was on a biologic that was not doing its job for me personally. And, you know, medication, what works for you might not work for somebody else. That's just kind of like rule of thumb. And I was being treated on a biologic for a year after having my second son, and I was not doing well. I was in a flare for months and months and months on end, where my hands basically would swell up like golf balls. Like, I could not take care of myself, let alone my kids, and like open bottles and like do things. Like, my wrists were completely like debilitated, and it was excruciating and horrible. After coming off of that biologic, I was then exploring like new options, and the doctor that I'm currently seeing right now really wants me to be on another biologic. Personally, I do not want to be treated with biologic medication. If I can control my symptoms naturally and or at least like take like the least toxic medication as possible and deal with the rest of the symptoms like naturally, like, that's ideal. That's what I want to do. And eventually I plan to resolve this issue with regenerative medicine and other forms of medication that are holistic and organic approaches. They want you to take the biologic on top of the chemo, on top of the anti-inflammatory, on top of the painkiller, on top of whatever else like they throw at you. And it's just honestly a very vicious downward spiral, and I've been down it multiple times and it doesn't help. The number one thing that has helped me the most has been changing my diet and making sure that I'm taking in adequate amounts of water. So I wanted to talk to you guys about like this basically like experiment that I did recently, and you could call it somewhat of like a weight loss journey, I suppose, although that wasn't really the intention. But I did end up losing a significant amount of weight with this experiment that I just took part in. So I have heard of different institutes and places conducting water-based diets essentially to resolve autoimmune issues, severe autoimmune and other diseases as well. the point is to basically starve your cells, but it doesn't necessarily actually mean that you're starving. Doing this type of an experiment it can actually be very dangerous, and it's not suggested for people to do it by themselves. So please do not take this information as, me suggesting that you should go and try this by yourself. It's extremely important to eat and make sure that you're getting in the amount of calories that you need every day. This is strictly informative, educational information. So basically, these institutes will take you on for 14 to even 40 days where you will practice drinking just water and having as little amount of food as possible. Some places do no food at all, but those are heavily monitored situations where you have medical staff on hand and all of that, because like I said, you cannot just starve yourself and then think that everything's going to work out for you. That's not healthy. But personally, in my own situation, I've been doing a little bit of research on this, and because I have autoimmune disease, I view it for that purpose, to reduce inflammation, not to starve myself and lose weight. And I think that that's probably why I was successful, is because the end goal was, for a healthy reason. Basically, what started to happen very slowly was, as I was not doing good, I was really suffering, and I was getting no good news, and I found out that my bones were eroding. I just fell into such a deep hole of depression because I already was not able to function, and then I just found out why I was not able to function. And I already knew that obviously something was wrong and something excruciating, I could feel it, but there is no remedy up front that they can give you for that. So you're basically kind of shit out of luck. That's how they basically act. It's oh, well, my fingers, okay, so they're oh, well, luckily you're not slipping. I'm what the fuck, I was slipping? And she says, slipping is when, your fingers start to go. And I'm well, yeah, I am, one of my fingers is starting to go. So, yeah, definitely not in a good position right now. My knees are wrecked. I've got some bone erosion in my knees, in my feet, all across the top of my feet. It changes everything about your life. The clothes that I wear, I like to wear loose clothes because my bones and my body, hurts, all the time. It's just a lifestyle. It's a complete and totally different lifestyle than what any healthy person could understand. My shoes, I can't wear heels right now because of my feet, the condition that my feet are in, having bones basically broken all in my foot. So the way that I explain it to a healthy person that can't really understand is I explain how I'm feeling in percentages. When you go to the doctor's office, they'll ask you okay, what's your pain level? 1 to 10. My grandmother, she calls me and checks in on me all the time, and I explain to her how I'm feeling in percentages. And so a couple months ago, when I first found out that my bones were eroding, my doctor was getting me set up on a new medication because I was just coming off of this biologic. That's when I was taking Rinvoq. And when I came off of Rinvoq, they wanted to put me on the biologic infusion. I think it was Remicade. So they ordered me Remicade, and I was going to have to go in for 2 hours long, sit there, get my Remicade infusion. And again, been there, done that. I've been on Orencia, I've been on Humira. I've had to sit in these doctors' offices getting infusions for hours. And listen, I understand every buddy who's suffering right now. If you're watching this and you're currently in this situation, I understand you and I feel for you, and I've been there. The medication never made me feel like I was exceeding at life. I remember very clearly what it feels like to be healthy. When I was younger, I was extremely healthy. I was very active. I played sports. I used to climb trees. I was in my high school soccer team and lacrosse, all this and that. The day that I became sick, my life changed. My energy levels are completely depleted. I'm exhausted all the time. And the medication that they put us on, for me personally, has never made me feel like my energy's booming, I can move, seemingly with no pain. I've never had that. As long as I have been sick, I've never felt normal again. So after being on the Rinvoq, get off of that, I'm looking for new medication. This doctor wants to put me on a biologic. She ordered me Remicade. She wanted me to do these infusions. And then she gave me this chemo drug called lymphlutamide on top of that, which I talked about a little bit in the last video, that I just couldn't get it together enough to post, or I just feel like, I don't know, I didn't even watch it. I just felt like after I filmed it, I was like, what was that? Like, I don't even think that any of it made sense. Anywho, it's a chemo drug. It's not chemotherapy, but it's in the same family. And essentially, she wants me to take the biologic infusion on top of this chemo drug. And then I'm sure I would need some type of an anti-inflammatory, like naproxen, or, you know, who knows, on top of probably a painkiller. But alls I know is that I was on lymphlutamide for 1 month, like they said to be. I was dying. This drug made me so weak. Like, my bones, I felt like they were breaking. And although I already have that problem because my bones just naturally eat themselves for whatever reason, this was a different kind of pain, like bone pain. It was bone weakening. Like, I could literally feel my bones losing strength. And when I walked up a flight of steps, I was completely exhausted. I felt like I had to take a nap. So literally all I could do was take a bath to like feel okay, because the warmth on my skin like made me feel like everything was gonna be all right. So that was a huge issue. So when I was on that medication, like my grandma's calling me, she's like, how you doing? What's going on? How's today? You know, and I'm like, Nona, like, I'm seriously functioning at like 30%. Like, I'm not okay. I'm dying. 30%. That's it. I'm functioning at 30%, not 50, below 50, 30 on this medication that was their idea, you know, and they want me to be on that on top of something else. And so I made the decision after a month of being on it, like, which I was supposed to be on it for a month, to call them, you know, and we said, like, hey, you know, I'm not doing so great. Let's revise this medical plan. Do we have any other options? And so, you know, then I just was thinking to myself, you know, I would really love to be on a medication that's been successfully used for rheumatoid arthritis for over 80 years, or something of that nature. That's not a biologic, that's not chemo, that's not a painkiller, or something that's like, you know, sub-level. And hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine, you know, if you've heard of it, hydroxychloroquine has been used for over 80 years to treat rheumatoid arthritis patients, and it has been said to be very, very successful. So, let's see, 2 months ago, we made the transition to me being on the hydroxychloroquine, and when I first made the switch, I was like doing super, super good. I felt like I had a lot of energy back, like I didn't have that much pain. And that was so exciting because hydroxychloroquine is an antiviral. So it's one of the safest medications for rheumatoid arthritis. And that's along the lines of something that I'm looking for in the meantime until I am ready to go in for my regenerative medicine treatment. So I'm on the hydroxychloroquine right now. That's the update. I was doing really, really well 2 months ago. Well, like when I first got onto it, so they gave me like 400 milligrams. And it's like this little skinny pill, and I was taking them, and I was like feeling super, super good. And so my grandma calls me, she's like, how you doing? And I'm like, God, I feel so good. Like, I feel like I'm at like 70% today, like doing really good. So I knew the medication was working. Well, then turns out, you know, once I lost like all this weight, they had to cut back my medicine dosage about 100 milligrams. And then the brand of the medication that I was taking also changed. Not the hydroxychloroquine, it's still the same drug, but it's a different brand of the drug. So I don't know if the drug that I'm on right now is like not as well manufactured or what, but it's definitely not as good as the first pill of hydroxychloroquine that I took. So That's a bit of a bummer, and I'm trying to figure that out right now, but I'm so satisfied with being on hydroxychloroquine right now and basically getting through my day on just hydroxychloroquine, and I take Tylenol and Advil as needed. And then I have a lot of other things that I'm doing right now to support myself that I want to talk to you guys about in separate videos. But I wanted to show you guys my x-rays that were taken. I haven't found like a way to play the CD yet, but anyways, so yeah, like I said, like I just like fell into a super deep depression after finding out that my bones were eroding, and basically have been on a mission to find a stem cell surgeon or somebody to administer stem cell treatment to me. So yeah, you guys can see some clips of that. I videoed that journey, and basically throughout that whole process, the last couple of months, I've been really focusing on reducing my inflammation naturally by eating really clean, at least as clean as possible. Like I still, you know, I'm human. I have my days where I eat whatever I want, like partially, but I mean, for the most part, like I try to eat super clean, and I like to do intermittent fasting, and in the morning I have a routine that I will take you guys through with me one morning. But yeah, I'm really happy where I'm at right now. I feel so lucky and blessed to be in this position and to have the knowledge that I have about autoimmune disease and certain environmental toxins that can cause the body to react negatively. That way I can pay better attention to what I'm putting into my body to help keep my body stabilized. Anywho, that's the update. This has been very difficult for me to talk about this. I don't know why. I just haven't been able to do it. And today I felt like I could do it, so I did it. So there it is. That's the update. I love you guys. Thank you so much to everybody who's been so supportive to me through just everything that I've been going through. And this is not the end.